Started. Hey, what's up? I'm Amanda.
I'm Emily.
And this is Two Moms, One Mic. No mic still.
Pretend that there's a mic here.
All right, episode 2, and we're hitting it off with the newborn phase.
Yep, the 3 craziest months of your life.
Yes. This is like the phase where it's probably the easiest phase when you think about it in the future.
Oh yeah, it's a retro. When you look back on it, you're like, oh, yeah, that was so easy. But you're so sleep deprived that the delusion and the delulu just
makes it the hardest phase.
Yeah.
So like now that I have a 1.5-year-old, I'm like, wow, I wish I kind of had that newborn phase back. But during the newborn phase, you're like, am I ever gonna sleep again? Like,
so wait, before we scare people, because we don't want to scare people, we should mention the pros.
Sorry, okay.
We should talk about what.
But everyone else tells these people about the pros.
I know, but this is our disclaimer. I know, but
I'm not here to talk
we don't
want to
scare people.
Okay,
so
go.
The cuddles are cute. They're like potato-like state is cute. They only do 3 things, which is eat, sleep, poop, and pee.
Pooped a lot.
And yeah, like they don't move. And they're just cute.
They're cute. They are cute.
And now on to real life.
And now on to me giving you the reality of it. Pampers, not real. Honestly, I'm going to say my experience with having Antonio, everyone around me would be like, giving birth is amazing. You're going to have this baby and you're going to love him so much and be like, oh my God, I've never loved anything. And I did not have that with Antonio. And that scared me because I thought there was something wrong with me. And I was like, I don't have this like endless amount of love when I saw him. Like that phase of like seeing him. I was just like, again, like I said in the ending of my last, like, you're so cute. Like, here, someone take him.
Yeah, you're exhausted at that point.
I didn't have that like instant connection. And you know what? For a while, I felt like a bad person because of that. And then I realized to myself, I gave birth to a stranger. When you meet people for the first time, you don't instantly connect with them. Yeah. It takes time for a relationship to grow. And why can't I build a relationship with the person that I gave birth to?
Yeah, right? I knew somebody else like that too. And she admitted it to me. She was like, you know what? I there wasn't that instant bond. That, once again, something else that is mythical and that people push on you. And you're made to feel like a horrible person if that's not, right away.
Yeah, I didn't have that. And I just felt like I didn't know what to do with the baby. And even at the hospital, like, they actually don't even tell you. Like, I'll never forget, Antonio was sleeping, and I fed him at 6 a.m., and the nurse comes in the room at 1, and she's like, did you feed him? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, when? I'm like, 6 a.m. And she's like, what? It's 1. I'm like, yeah, he's sleeping. And she's like, well, you need to wake him up. He needs to eat every 2 hours. And I'm like, no one told me this. Like, did you think I would just know that? Like, I just assumed when he was hungry, he would wake up. Yeah. Like, I literally thought, like, yeah, he'll wake up when he's hungry. But apparently they don't.
See, I
still don't know. I still don't know the answer, honestly.
Yeah, because, like I said, because I gave birth at 2 different hospitals, the first hospital, like, you ever see, like, those, like, memes or, like, the reels where it's, like, the nurse is like, me again. That was my experience with my first. Okay. Like, a nurse was literally in all the time.
So they were, like, very helpful.
Yeah, like, they were, like, on it. With my second, I was, like, when your uterus is contracting, and nobody tells you how painful that is when your uterus has to go back to size. I don't know how it was for you, but
it kind of, for me, it just felt like my period, to be honest.
Okay,
like,
so I don't know if it was
you
worse.
You told me how bad yours was.
It was really bad. And, the first time I gave birth, they offered, do you need Advil, Tylenol, all this stuff. And the second one, I was like, where are the drugs? Why are the drugs not coming? So, it was just like 2 different things where one was like very on it and they wanted to teach you stuff, and the other one was kind of like, I don't know, maybe they assumed because I already had one, I was just supposed to.
Maybe it's a Cortellucci thing, because I did Cortellucci as well.
We're not trying to bash.
No, we're not.
I don't want to get sued.
We're just trying to figure it out. Anyways, I just didn't know that you were supposed to wake him up to feed him, and like, sorry if that's common sense.
So I didn't wake up my second, and he ended up being jaundice.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't wake up.
But like, he was borderline. He was borderline.
Yeah, no, my second ended up being jaundice because I was like, come on, eat. And he was just out.
So if you're watching this and you're pregnant or you never had a kid, we should explain what this is. So they want you to wake up your child, your newborn, because they don't want it to become jaundice, and jaundice is dehydration. So that's why you need to make sure you're feeding your baby every 2 hours. And this is something I didn't know. And the more you know, I learned it now, and now I'm sure
the more you know. Can we add like little gifts to our videos?
So yeah, this is why you need to feed your baby every 2 hours. And if your baby ends up with jaundice, it's not a big deal. Like,
yeah, don't worry. We're not trying to scare you with jaundice. My son is fine.
Yeah, I remember new moms hearing that their child might be jaundice and feeling so awful about themselves. It's so common, and don't worry, it'll be just fine. Like, it's not a big deal. You're doing everything right. You're amazing. Remember that.
that has to like come across the screen. Once we get better at editing, these videos are gonna look awesome. Awesome, I tell you.
So, anyways, yeah, the first 6 weeks for me, I just felt like I was really trying to learn my son. Like, I thought I would understand, like, I thought, like, within the first week I would understand, like, cries and stuff, and I didn't. I didn't understand any of that.
Yeah.
And it just, again, it made me feel so disconnected from him, and it made me feel so awful. Like, why don't I know what this cry means? Why don't I know what that cry means? Why? And I just felt like there was no connection, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I thought I would just naturally know what to do, truthfully, and I didn't. And if you don't naturally know what to do, it's okay. By 6 weeks was when, and this is why I tell everyone, give yourself grace for 6 weeks. By the 6th week, I felt like I had a routine. I felt like I understood his cries. I was like, I know what to do with you now. Like, yeah, we got this. Like, we're a team. And like, now that I'm like a year and a half,
almost 2 years.
What? He's almost 2 years into it. Like, I feel like now, even at this phase more so, like, we are like best friends. Like, we're connected. Like, I know everything about this little dude. Like, I'm definitely that person that, like, we built love as we've gone forward in the relationship. Like, I'm sure there's moms that like instantly felt like that love, but like ours was like a love that was built for sure. And like, I don't think there's anything
through trial and error, essentially.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And that's like, I was a new mom, and I, like, we're gonna talk about it more, but I really struggled like my first year. Like, I went through postpartum. I became suicidal, and like, we'll talk about that one day, but like, it was a lot for me. It was a lot, like, trying to take care. I don't want to cry. Oh my god. Trying to take care of myself.
Shit just got heavy.
I wasn't expecting this. Oh my god. Trying to take care of myself and like this baby, and also like, I wasn't really vocal about what I was going through, and that's something like I regret a little bit too. Like, I hope if you're watching this, like, tell the people around you how you're feeling, and like, get your village involved. Because I think, not that I waited too long to talk to people around me about how I was feeling, but I just like I did it in time, but I just wish I did it sooner.
Yeah. Because
I would have had the support. If you know me, you know I have a massive family. I have so many friends. I know I would have had people here helping me, and I wish I would have asked for help sooner. Don't feel bad that you need to ask for help. It really takes a village. It really does.
Yeah.
So I know I went like forward with postpartum and like, but
honestly, I think that it's important because it's like we were saying last time, you become a vessel and you become the carrier of another life, and then that life becomes almost more important than yours.
Yeah.
And then your needs just keep going back and back and back and back. And like we were saying, like the first doctor's appointment isn't for you. It's for the baby. And that's like, between 3 to 7 days after the baby's born. They're already getting a doctor's appointment. You don't get your first doctor's appointment until 6 weeks. And what ends up getting discussed then? How do you want to proceed with contraception? You know what I mean? Why is that the conversation? The conversation is, yeah, you can go bang your husband again. Hi, who's doing that? Or how do you want to prevent pregnancy? No one is really, if you had an OB out there that was really on top of it and was like, hey, how are you doing mentally? Like, please drop their name below so more people can know about it. But in my experience and what I've heard from people, that's not a conversation that's actively on the table. And that's what, then we get in these situations where, you start to feel guilt, you start to feel shame, you start to you gaslight yourself. You literally gaslight yourself that you're like, I can do this. The world's telling me I can do this.
The world tells you that you can do this. The world's like, you can do, look at all these other moms that did it. Look at this, look at that. you know what? Like, if we look at our parents' generation, like, my mom didn't work. So, yeah, my mom did all this, but then she only took care of, like, a household. Like, me, like, I had a maternity leave. I went back to work. Like, a lot of moms today are working full-time moms and running a household.
Yeah.
Like, we're expected to be superheroes nowadays. And, like, truthfully, it's unrealistic. And, like, our mental health, like, really, like, a lot of moms, their mental health is, like, depreciating because of this.
Yeah.
Like, we're expected to do it all, and we just can't. We really can't.
And then, you know, I feel like more and more you hear these very, very tragic, and I'm not going to say horrible stories, they're tragic stories where, like, the system failed these women, where it's like, unfortunately, the women either take their own lives, they unfortunately kill their babies, because their mental state is just so bad. And that is a failure of the system around postpartum care, really.
But this is also why, like, I want to really stay on this topic, and this is why, like, I wanted to create this podcast, because, like, I wanted to vocalize to women who do watch this, like, it's okay to feel this way, and it's okay to tell people that you feel this way.
Yeah.
These feelings are normal. Please know that these feelings are normal, and you're not alone. I'm a big advocator for the shitty feelings of being a new mom, because no one talks about it, and I think it's so important. And, you know, like, my sister, like, after she gave birth, like had her son, she said, like, I know how I was feeling mentally, and, like, knowing that you went through that really helped me, because I knew I was gonna be okay. Like, she said, her husband's like, but why are you feeling this way? And she's like, it's just baby blues. Like, Jess, I hope you're okay with me saying this. It's just baby blues and all of that, and, like, you know, like, yeah, like, she was. It's the first 6 weeks, and again, it does, like, get harder before it gets easier, but, like, it gets better over time, and advocate for yourself and speak to your village. I'm gonna continue because, like, I have things written down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my first 6 weeks was like, what am I doing? I didn't have that instant connection. I felt like he was a stranger, and I was so tired. I remember once crying to Matt, saying, like, am I gonna sleep again? Yeah. And that's actually, like, a sleep program that I did purchase that I love. One of the, like, chapters was like, will I ever sleep again? Yeah. I was that person that napped when the baby napped. I didn't care if my house was a mess. I also, and I highly recommend, before Antonio came, I made a lot of freezer meals, so I could just, like, pull out dinner, put it in the oven, and I didn't have to, like, actually make dinners. Yeah. So I would sleep when he would sleep. I was unsuccessful in breastfeeding. I know you were successful, so I was unsuccessful. So I'll talk a little bit about myself, and maybe you could share the success side. I put a lot of pressure on myself for the first 4 weeks. I said, I'm going to give it my all. I was on supplements. I was, like, drinking water, taking oatmeal, drinking oat milk, drinking coconut water. Like, I, like, Googled everything. I was doing anything I could to get a supply, and I just didn't have a supply. I was really hard on myself, and looking back, I regret putting that much pressure on myself, and I wish I spent more time trying to bond with Antonio, but I was so fixated on giving him breast milk, and it is what it is. Like, you can't go back and change time, but I was so fixated on giving him breast milk, and I remember crying the day that I said, like, I'm giving up, like, I just don't have a supply. Yeah. I just felt like a failure. It was something I really wanted to do for my son, and again, he's fine. He's almost 2. He's so smart. Fed is best, people. That's what I tell everyone now. You know what? You can't do it. It's all good. Fed is best. I wish I spent more time focusing on my son than focusing on trying to give him breast milk.
Yeah. So with my first, I breastfed him for 21 months, and some people might have thoughts about that, but
good for you. Hey,
kind of is what it is. But literally at least for, like, the first year, so, like, the first 12 months, I always doubted he was getting enough, that the milk quality was good. You know, we would Google, like, if you, like, I would literally be, like, putting breast milk in, like, a shot glass and then keeping it in the fridge and then seeing how much fat there was. And we were debating, was it fatty enough? Because he wasn't a milk coma baby. He didn't, like, you know, feed and then pass out for hours. No. He was, like, feeding, like, honestly, like, every half hour.
Oh, wow.
So I literally...
That's a lot on you.
Yeah, so I was, like, a vessel. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I went to 2 different breastfeeding clinics just to, like, make sure, like, the latch was fine. And everyone always told me it was fine. But honestly, at least for that first 12 months, I constantly doubted if everything was working. And he gained weight, and he was peeing, and he was pooping, and everything like was textbook. It checked out. But there was always doubt. There was always doubt, but I still just did it because, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer was. I just did it.
Did you record things? Did you have the Huckleberry app?
For naps.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't use it for the feeding.
Because you couldn't use it for feeding, right? You couldn't.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And you know, breastfeeding is very hard, and the world tries to make it seem very easy, but it's actually very taxing. You know, like, easy. Especially when it was like around the holidays, and then it's like, let's say the people are gathering in the basement, and you have to go upstairs, and then you're kind of like trapped underneath this child, and then you miss out on things. So, I mean, it's a personal decision. If you do it, fantastic. I love that for you. If that's not your journey, it is what it is. Like she said, fed is best. So now, when I stopped breastfeeding my first, I literally got pregnant, excuse me, like about 2 to 3 months after. So now it was like, because I never dried up, we were in milk mode, people. Like,
did you have like oversupply?
It wasn't like an oversupply, but this time around, like, I was having like a milk coma baby. I would feed him and he would go to sleep. And I actually had a freezer stash. And that was like, I never had a freezer stash before.
I'm so
jealous. It was so different.
That is best, but I'm still jealous.
No, so like that, so it was like literally like 2 different things. Like, it was crazy. And him, the second one I fed for 15 months. And yeah, so it was, you know, like, and it's always in retrospect, right? Like, you never know how it's going to be until, you know, you have to do it again. So because I had the 2, I literally saw 2 very different experiences of it. And yeah, so it was just so different because with the first, if I knew I had to go out for dinner like on Friday, I would have to start pumping like that entire week just to get 1 bottle. So I could like leave the house for like maybe an hour or so. With the second, I was like, oh, I got bags. Who needs bags? Like, find me a body lifter. I'll sell them bags of milk. Like, I had so many. And it was so different.
It's funny
so
because,
different.
like, you're talking about, like, did you find, like, talking to different people, like, some people say breastfeeding's easier than, like, bottle feeding in the sense that
it depends. Yeah, like, there's some people who want the option for their husband to wake up in the middle of the night and give the kid a bottle. Which, I mean, you can do with like, breast milk, too, if you're
producing.
Yeah. I've also heard a lot of breastfed kids struggling to take a bottle because, you know, the nipples are different. Then you have to go through all that thing and that type of stuff. I think it just depends. Like, I think it depends on your lifestyle. And that's, like, another thing, too. Like, you need to feed your baby in a way that's going to, support your mental well-being. And like fit into your lifestyle.
I think that's the most important. Like, what supports your mental well-being and feeding your baby? Like, someone like said like, oh, breastfeeding's so easy. Like, you don't have to wash bottles. You don't have to this. You don't have to that. But like, in my mind, like, you're the only person that could do it.
Well, that's
you're
exactly
the only person that can feed your child, and no one could ever help you with that task.
Yeah.
No matter what time of the day it is. So that's like for me. I know me. Like, even though I tried to breastfeed and all that, like, I know me. Like, thinking about that now, like, breastfeeding wouldn't be for me. Like, I appreciate all of the help and support.
Okay, but
and I think, like, moms
you can just do bottle feeding with breast milk.
Yeah.
But that's its own struggle in itself. Because you now, depending on the type of pump you get,
you're right.
You're either plugged into a wall, just sitting there, and you have to make sure that you are on a very, very strict schedule with that. Because if you miss that feeding, your supply could drop.
Yeah, you know, like, when I think about breastfeeding, like, I feel like it's not talked about enough that it's like another full-time job. It really is.
Yeah.
Like, pumping is a full-time job, and if you choose to be like an exclusive pumper, like, good for you. Like, that's a lot of work. But even breastfeeding, like, is a lot of work. Like, it is on top of learning how to take care of a newborn and deciding to breastfeed. Like,
so when I had my second child, that's when I hosted the outdoor market. Yeah. And I had to wear this massive sweater that day because I had the ladybug hawkas just collecting milk.
Yeah.
Because what was I wasn't at home. And I was dedicated to be at this event for like at least 4 hours. And, you know, I'm secretly collecting milk while I'm like socializing with people. Yeah. Like, people don't realize.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know collecting milk.
I'm like gently hugging people. I was like, oh, don't hit my ladybugs. Like.
Yeah, no, I was definitely, I was so focused on breastfeeding that first month. I remember crying and so stressed.
I know a lot of people who have, like, they really struggled with the idea of switching from breast
I was upset with
to
myself
bottle.
that I couldn't. I really.
But like, where
I don't know
does this
why,
come
but
from?
no one put this pressure
Yeah.
on me. No, like I didn't
And
have
yet
like
everyone has the same notion.
I didn't have anyone saying like you better breastfeed. Like my mom, my nonna, my Zia, no one said it to me. But I put all this pressure on me. I wanted to breastfeed because like you read like it's so good for them, antibodies, this and that, and I'm like I want to be able to give him all of that. And the fact that I guess I couldn't give him all of that like was the pressure that I put on myself. And again, like my son though. He didn't get sick for the first year of his life. He ended up getting sick on vacation, which was like the worst experience of my life.
That should be its own episode.
Oh my God. Yes, it really should be. But he didn't get sick for a full year. And I think it's also because I had a dog. Like he literally ate the dog toys. So he was
sharing is caring, even with germs.
But I mean, like, he's fine. Like, again, like, fed is best. Really, I'm going back to that fed is best because it really is.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up out there.
If you can't.
But also, like, if breastfeeding is your goal and that's something that you do want to do, there are resources out there and they're honestly free. Like the York region has a clinic that's free. There's another one in Brampton that's free. So, you know, do research. There's always options.
I went to the clinic.
There's always options. They're very helpful.
I did try to I checked off everything that I could to try to be successful with it, and in the end, like, I made a decision. Like, I could have done combo. I never thought of it at the time. I could have done formula and breast milk, which is an option.
Yeah.
But
there's so many different ways.
At the time, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna call it quits. And truthfully, like, I think it was actually way better for my mental health. Because I was focused more on Antonio and like learning how to be a mom with him.
So you mentioned earlier that, you know, by 6 weeks you had a routine. I, even to this day, am not a routine person.
Oh, I'm a routine person.
And I know people like that. I know people that like literally documented every time their kid peed and pooed and how long they slept. And I mean, okay, the sleeping I always kept track of because of the wake windows.
Sleeping, food, everything. I didn't do diapers.
But I would like, I'm just like not a routine person. I don't know. Even now, like if my kids want to eat, great. I'm not going to be like, it's 5 o'clock, we need to have dinner. But yeah, I don't know. There's some people that thrive in routine and I respect that for them. And that's what can also, once again, help with their mental health. I was just very go with the flow. I mean, it kind of is what it is.
I was definitely like when Antonio started eating, we're just newborn phase, but I know we're talking a little, like I definitely like routine wise, like when he started